My people, gather your hearts and listen like your life depends on it, because this final chapter will break you open, rebuild you stronger, and leave you changed forever. After the flood that nearly drowned them, Chike had proven he could stay. But real fatherhood is not one heroic moment. It is every single sunrise after the storm. What happens next is not just a happy ending, it is a soul-shaking revelation. A secret from the past resurfaces, a child's deepest wound opens. A village must choose between justice and mercy, and one man must decide, will he protect his new family, or sacrifice everything to heal the scar he himself created eight years ago? This is the deepest, strongest, most unforgettable part. If you have ever hurt someone you love and wish for true redemption, stay. This story ends here, and it will end in your bones. The rains had finally gone. Green Valley breathed again. New cassava shoots pushed through the wet earth like tiny green promises. Emeka, now 9, ran faster, laughed louder, and called Chike Papa without hesitation. Ada's smile returned fully, soft, real, unguarded. At night the three of them sat outside under stars, sharing stories. Chike told Emeka about his own father, a quiet farmer who taught him honesty with calloused hands. Emeka listened, eyes wide, soaking it in like dry soil drinks rain. Life felt whole, almost. Then one dusty afternoon a stranger arrived, an old woman wrapped in faded wrapper, leaning on a carved staff. Her name was Mama Nkechi, Chike's aunt from a distant village. She had walked 3 days to find him. The villagers watched curiously as she entered Ada's compound. "Chike," she said, voice low and heavy, "your father's land when he left you, the elders have sold it. They say you abandoned your bloodline when you ran to the city and denied your child. They claim the land belongs to the family now, since no heir was recognized." Chike froze. That small piece of land was all he had left from his parents, fertile soil near a stream, enough to feed a family forever. He had dreamed of building a proper house there for Ada and Emeka one day. "But I have returned," Chike said quietly. "I have a son now." Mama Nkechi shook her head sadly. "The elders say the boy was never claimed. You yourself said he was not yours. Words spoken before witnesses cannot be unsaid so easily. They demand proof, or the land is gone." Ada stepped forward, eyes fierce. "He has proven himself every day since he came back. He carried our son through flood waters. He sold his last treasure for medicine." "Is that not enough?" The old woman sighed. "Custom is custom, my daughter. The elders will meet in 3 days. Chike must come and speak. If he cannot convince them, the land is lost and with it, any future inheritance for Emeka." That night no one slept well. Emeka overheard everything. In the dark, he crept to his mother's mat. "Mama, did Papa really say I wasn't his child?" His voice cracked like dry wood. Ada pulled him close. Tears came. For the first time she told him the full truth, not the soft version, but the raw one. How Chike left before he was born. How she cried alone. How she chose to raise him with love anyway. Emeka listened silently. When she finished, he whispered, "I thought the flood was the hardest thing. But this hurts more." The next morning Emeka was different, quieter, eyes distant. He still helped on the farm, but he no longer ran to hug Chike when he came home. Chike noticed. His heart sank like stone in water. The day of the elders' meeting came. The whole village gathered under the ancient Iroko tree. Papa as sat in the center, staff across his knees. 20 elders flanked him. Chike stood alone in the middle, bare-chested as custom demanded for serious matters. Mama Nkechi spoke first. Chike denied his seat. He abandoned custom. "The land cannot go to a man who rejected his own blood." Murmurs rose. Some nodded. Others looked at Ada and Emeka sitting quietly at the edge. Then Chike spoke. His voice started low, trembling. "I was a boy then, scared, selfish, foolish. I said words I can never take back. I left Ada to carry shame and pain alone. I left my son before he drew his first breath. For 8 years I carried that guilt like chains. Every night in the city I saw his face in dreams, a face I had never seen." He paused, eyes wet. "I left my son before he drew his first breath. For 8 years I carried that guilt like chains. Every night in the city I saw his face in dreams, a face I had never seen." He paused, eyes wet. "But guilt is not enough. I came back not to claim, but to serve. I worked until my hands bled. I carried Emeka through death's door. I faced the flood and almost drowned so he could live. If those acts do not prove a changed heart, then nothing will, the elders whispered. Chike continued, voice breaking. If you take the land, take it. I will not fight. But know this, Emeka is my son, not by my first words, but by every day I have chosen since. If he has no inheritance from me, let him have my name, my sweat, my life. Let him know I would give everything again. Silence fell thick, heavy. Then Emeka stood up, small boy among giants. Everyone turned. He walked to the center, looked at the elders, then at Chike. Grandfathers, he said clearly, my papa left before I was born. That is true. It hurt my mama. It hurt me when I learned it. But pain is not the end of a story. He turned to Chike. You could have run again when hunger came. You stayed. When fever took me, you walked through fire. When water tried to swallow us, you carried me on your back like I was your whole world. You sold the watch your own father gave you, the last thing you had from him, so I could breathe. Emeka's voice grew stronger. That is fatherhood. Not land, not first words. It is choosing every day, even when it costs everything. Tears rolled down Chike's face. He dropped to his knees before his son. Emeka placed his small hand on Chike's shoulder. I forgive you, Papa, not because it was easy, but because you made it true. A long, sacred hush covered the gathering. Papa as rose slowly, his old eyes shone. Custom says one thing, he declared, but wisdom says another. A man who plants new roots deeper than the old ones broke, that man deserves his soil. He struck his staff on the ground. The land remains Chike's, and Emeka's after him. Let no one question it again. The village erupted, cheers, drums, songs. Women ululated, children danced, but the greatest moment was quiet. Later that evening, under the same mango tree, Chike, Ada, and Emeka sat together. Chike took Ada's hand. I do not deserve this second chance. Ada squeezed back. No one deserves forgiveness. It is given, and you received it, then earned it every day after. Emeka leaned against his father. Papa, will you tell me more stories about Grandpa? So I can know him too. Chike smiled through tears. Every night, my son, every night. Years passed. Emeka grew into a young man, kind, strong, wise. He became a teacher in the village school, then opened a small farm cooperative so no family would go hungry again. Chike and Ada grew old together, hands still working the same soil. When people asked Emeka about his father, he never spoke of the denial first. He spoke of the flood, the walk for medicine, the land that was saved not by words, but by love proven in fire and water. And when Chike finally closed his eyes for the last time, Emeka stood at his grave and whispered, You gave me more than land, Papa. You gave me a story worth telling. My dear friends, this is the deepest truth of all. Redemption is not cheap. It costs pride, it costs pain, it costs everything you once held back. But when a man gives his whole self, not once, but every day, he does not just save his family, he heals generations. He turns a broken beginning into an unbreakable legacy. Mothers, your strength plants the first seed. Fathers, your return waters it with sacrifice. Children, your forgiveness makes it grow forever. Never believe a story is finished when it breaks. The greatest chapters are written in the mending. This complete trilogy, the denial, the return, the storm, the trial, the healing, comes from Goddys Folktale Lessons. If these stories touched your soul, if they reminded you to hold your family closer, to forgive deeper, to fight harder, then subscribe now to Goddys Folktale Lessons. Hit that bell, share with someone who needs this healing. Because every broken heart deserves to hear, you can still become whole. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Until the next folktale, stay strong, stay kind, stay true.